everyone, my name is Chrissy and welcome to my channel. Today I am doing my May wrap-up, finally. When I first started BookTube, I told myself I'm going to have all my wrap-ups done on time. They're always going to be posted on the first. Oh, sweet summer child. As it were, I'm more of a realist now. Not happening. I normally do my wrap-ups by doing them in order from when I read them through the first to the end, but instead I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to talk about the books I read for the Asian Readathon. The first book covered all of the challenges of the Asian Readathon, and that is My Brother's Husband by Gengoro Tagame. This follows a man named Mike who goes to Japan to visit his husband's family. His husband had passed away quite a while ago. His husband's name was Ryoji, by the way. And he's going to see Yaichi, who is Ryoji's twin brother. And Yaichi has a young daughter named Kana, and it's about their relationship and how they connect as a family. Because Yaichi is a little bit wary of Mike, who is this huge gay man who comes onto his doorstep. And Yaichi comes from a society where they don't look very kindly on people who are gay, and yeah. It's a very good book. It's actually quite a heartwarming tale. I heavily recommend it. I am going to be doing a book review of this, so I will link that down below whenever I get that posted up. The next book I read throughout the month of May. I actually did a read-along with, and that is Battle Royale by Koshin Takami. Touted as the original Hunger Games, this follows a class of students, about 42 students, who get put into a program where they have to battle to the death. Whoever is the last survivor is the winner of that program, and they get a small stipend. Yay. I did post up videos for this read-along, so I'll link them down in the description below. I loved this book. It's so good. It's very different from the movie that came out. In the movie, that focuses far more on the action of these students killing one another, I feel. And granted, there is the characters who say, this is wrong, but they don't focus really on the fact that these are just kids, where the book never fails to remind you that these are just ordinary students being caught up in a very vicious program game thing. I heavily recommend this book. If you like messed up plot lines, this will get you. But more if you like kind of commentary on society, this is a great book to read. The next book I read for the Asian Readathon is The Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini. The Kite Runner is about a young man from Afghanistan. He is raised there and he has a friend that he grows up with. However, when he's still young and a conflict arises in Afghanistan that puts him and his father in danger, his father takes him out of Afghanistan and gets him to the US of A. Amir, who is the lead character in this book, kind of thinks back on his childhood and how he made so many mistakes. It's a very powerful read. It was so sad. This is not a feel-good book at all. This is everything goes wrong and everything continues to go wrong in this book. There is a bit of redemption for Amir at the end of this book, but it's sad. There's just nothing but sad things that happen. It's good. It was a good read, and I'm glad I read it. Thank you also so much to the people who let me buddy read. I'll put their names up over here. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of it. Fantastic read. I heavily recommend. As a fair warning, though, for The Kite Runner is that there's a lot of mentions of sexual assault. So if that is something that you just can't even bear the thought of it being mentioned, don't read that book. It doesn't give a lot of details of sexual assault. There's not a scene that portrays it in vivid detail or anything. It's not graphic by any means, but it does mention it, and there are just sad things that happen to the characters. I almost want to say, speaking of sexual assault, An Excess Male by Maggie Shen King. But oddly enough, I think people would argue with me on whether it's sexual assault or not, or some people might argue with me on whether it's sexual assault or not, because it's a wife towards a husband. But keep that in mind for this book. An Excess Male, to get into it, is about a young man named Wei Gao. And actually, I don't know why I keep saying young man when I mean middle-aged man. Wei Gao is in his 40s, and he wants to get married. There's far more unmarried men in China than there are women. So the government decided that women can have more than one husband. That sounds so very matriarchal, because the more husbands a gal has, then that should mean how powerful she is. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It's very still much women don't have as many rights in this book. But it's a really good look at culture and social dynamics, gender, and everything else in between. I did like this book. As I said, it does have that sexual assault scene, but it's not violent. It's just consent is not really given. And it's uncomfortable. So kind of keep that in mind if you do read this book, that scene does exist between a wife and a husband, and it's the wife who is the perpetrator rather than the husband. I do think that this is a worthwhile read because of all the other things that are in it. Now, outside of the Asian readathon, I read Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. This follows a bunch of mercenaries who are retired, but who decide to get back in the game in order to save the daughter of one of their bandmates. It's a high fantasy book. There's a lot of magic and fighting and action. I love the characters. I did do a whole book review, so I will link that down in the description below. I feel like I should have kept that book for last because it ends on a high note, but that didn't happen, and I'm not going to refilm. So instead, I'm going to talk to you about the last book, is Forever by Judy Blume. This book did not particularly touch my heart in any way, shape, or form. It's about two teenagers who have a relationship and have sex. That's really all that's about. I did do a reviewing romance of this book. I'll link it down in the description below. To me, it just was kind of boring. It's two boring characters in a boring relationship. That's all I got. And that's the books that I read in May. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you like seeing this face talk about books, hit that subscribe button. And as always and forever, may get lost in a book.